Right. So, hello, everyone. My name is Nadine K. Thompson. Welcome to another episode of the Water Cooler Chat Show. With me this evening is Sophia Morgan. She's also an author, and she's going to be talking about her journey as a writer and her life in China and her books. So, welcome, Sophia. Thank you for joining me on the Water Cooler Chat Show.
Hi Nadine, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so can you tell me where you're joining from?
Which journey, right? I've been on
Yeah.
so many different journeys.
Yes. But presently, where's this journey presently?
Okay, so where I am right now, I am a school principal, and I've been in this position for the last 2 years, and I'm so looking forward to next year. Lots of exciting and interesting things happening on my at my school. So that's where I am in terms of my career. I live and work here in China. I'm in a small city called Yiwu. And one fun fact about EU is that everything that you buy from China probably was made here. So one nickname for EU is the world's wholesale. So almost all small items are manufactured and shipped from EU, China.
Hmm. You're not too far from me because I'm in Hangzhou City and Iwu is, I think, not too far on the
Yes,
train. Yeah.
you're just a trainer. I'm coming to Hangzhou tomorrow, actually. I'm taking my son there to because it's summertime to hang out.
Okay, so yeah, it's good. We're close by. Yes, I've not been to Iwu, but I've heard that it is that small factory area of the world where people go to shop, and there are lots of Arabs and different kinds of sellers and different people living there. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So have you only been in China for 2 years or for longer?
I've been in China for 6 years. So actually, another fun fact is I was in China, Wuhan, China, when we had the pandemic outbreak. So I was among the people who were locked down in the city of Wuhan. So there's so much diversity and parts of my time being here in China. I lived in Wuhan for 4 years, and then I transitioned from Wuhan to this city in Yiwu. So I've been here a
Wow.
total of 6 years. Next year, my seventh year in this country.
So how was it for you being in Wuhan at that time? What was it like being in lockdown?
It was a lot of highs and lows, right? So when I just came, because I came to China October 2019, so just a few months before the lockdown. And what was interesting was I was looking forward to the Spring Festival holiday. So if you live in China, you know things that you need to be able to use, like Taobao, the DD, all those things. So when I just got to China in October, I lived just across the street from my school. So I never left the area really. So I didn't learn how to use or navigate the apps in China. I just
Mhm.
relied on my mentor from work to do everything for me. So fast forward, it's January, and that was one of my goals to say, okay, I'm gonna settle in the city. I'm not going on any vacation. I remember going to Walmart this Saturday with some coworkers of mine who were looking to leave immediately after the holiday. And they kept saying to me, oh, Sophia, you're not getting grocery. Sophia, I'm like, no, I'll do that next week. And the
Mhm.
following week was locked down. So
Wow.
in the first 2 weeks, I was locked down with my son, who was about 5 at the time, and we weren't prepared to be in lockdown. We had no masks. We had limited food, and Morgan is a very picky eater. So initially, I felt very unprepared for what was happening. And we lived in a building that dualed as a hotel. And so
Mhm.
when the city locked down, Morgan and I, and probably a few more people, were the only ones on that building. And it took a long time for the people in the community to figure out where I was. I couldn't tell them where I was because I was so unfamiliar with the space. and they didn't expect us to be in that building, actually. So another fun fact.
So did your school like send you food and stuff like that during that time?
Yeah, my school was very supportive. We had a group of us. There were 11 of us, and they nicknamed us Wuhan 11. And so what we did, we really came together as a team so that everyone could get what they needed. And one of my favorite memories from being locked down was the embassy, the consulate here of Jamaica in China. And I remember they sent all of us in Wuhan a care package. It was just a little bag, a
Mm,
little drawstring bag with Jamaican goodies. So it had Jamaica on it, and it had the little rum cake and some bobby, just Jamaican stuff. It was
yeah.
like a hug
A
from
taste, a
Jamaica.
taste.
I
Yeah,
remember
the
that
hug.
so clearly, and that came to us, and that was one of the, the joys of being Jamaican, and remembering that no matter where we are as Jamaican people, we have a tendency to really show up for each other when it really, really matters. And I remember that amongst the chaos and everything else that was happening, especially the Jamaicans here in China, we stuck together, I thought, and was very supportive to each other.
Yeah, we strengthened the group and we were, finding out who was where and talking to each other and sending support. So yes. So you were in lockdown for, I think, because I was in Hangzhou, but we were like on and off. We had a few weeks lockdown, then we would open up again. But I think you guys were in lockdown for quite a long period. How long were you in
Yes,
lockdown for?
almost
Mm,
almost 3 months actually. We were in lockdown, and interestingly, my very first book, I started writing that book during the lockdown,
mm,
because one of the things that happened during lockdown is that suddenly you had time. You didn't have
yes.
anywhere to go.
Mm,
I was just in the house, my son and I. And I remember I read a lot. I'm a reader. So one of the things or suggestions I got was like maintaining a routine. And
mm,
that was good for Morgan and I because we got up, we showered, we got dressed, and we did things. We had things planned for our day. And
mm,
I was studying at the time, and I did so much during that lockdown because I just had time. So I took on extra courses. I was able to start kind of drafting my book, the workbook that I have about for high schoolers, getting them ready for college and career preparedness. I drafted the book that time. I did so much virtual presentation. I was so busy during the lockdown
yeah.
time because I had time and I could use maximize the time I had in China. And then when Jamaica woke up, I maximized the time when Jamaica was up. So that happened at the time. And uh at the time I wasn't thinking that I was trying to be successful or purposeful. None of those words really came to mind. I was just thinking, okay, I need to keep myself busy. I didn't want to feel caged. And I used to have these little mini panic attacks every time I would go out to get food because my son has severe asthma. And so every time I'd go out to get food, I used to worry that if my son ever got COVID, I would be the one who brought it to him because he never left the apartment. And so I used to go out and I had a strict routine about how to re enter the house, making sure that nothing from outside came inside. So, those are the COVID days in
Yeah,
Wuhan.
yes. And I mean, yeah, I had the same experience where we started teaching online, and that was new thing, getting used to this teaching online. Then afterwards, going back to school, and then we had to be under the strict thing of every day we were getting tested, or every weekend we were being tested. But during that time too, I decided that instead of me just being inside and not doing much, yeah, reading more And I started connecting online with people more. And I also, that's when I wrote and published my first book too. So I think, yeah, for us who had this thing of keep moving, we just decided to keep moving, not just, every day just sit on your couch doing nothing. So, yep. So that we had purpose, but we didn't even realize we were being purposeful.
Well,
Correct.
right. That's definitely true.
So you said your son has asthma. So has he ever been sick in China? Have you had to go to the hospital with him, things like that?
Yes, I did. And my son is severely allergic to peanut. And
Mm,
so I think it was the time when we were finally able to travel. I remember the spring festival, and that time, I think I can't remember the year, but that was the year we also got COVID, because we got COVID about 2 to 3 years later, and we
So
got COVID in that December time.
2022. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
2022.
thereabout. And so we were planning to go to Jamaica, because we were like, oh my goodness, the borders are open, it's time to go. So we're planning to go to Jamaica, and my son accidentally ingested peanut, and he's severely allergic to peanuts. And the morning he was complaining that he was having problems breathing. And so I was very concerned about that. I kept giving him the pump and it wouldn't work. So then I took him to the hospital and they put him on the ventilator and everything for a couple of hours, and they sent us back home. And when we went back home, I noticed Morgan still had very couldn't breathe properly. We actually had to call the ambulance because by now it was nighttime. And so we had to be rushed off to the hospital. And that's when they realized that the peanut had gone into his system so badly. We're in the hospital for 9 days. We couldn't travel. We're in the
Mm,
hospital for 9 days during that spring
mm,
festival time. He had rashes, swollen all over. It was an ordeal.
mm. Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, being allergic, because I know in China they use peanut oil and peanut can sometimes be in a lot of things, so you have to be so careful. I
Yes.
never had like allergic reaction, but in China I had my first allergic reaction when I had shellfish somewhere,
Oh,
and I
mhm.
went with a teacher, and it was like one of these Hong Kong restaurants where you have the shrimp wrapped in a kind of, little it's like one of these wraps. And I had
Yeah.
one. That night when I came home, I was like, why do I feel like I'm just itching? And I felt like my
Yeah.
mouth was just getting swollen. And I thought, okay, maybe I wash my face with something that's itchy. Then so I kept washing my face and but I literally could feel my face. And the next thing, my mouth was swollen, my eyes under here were swollen, and my whole body, and I was just itching. And that was the first time I experienced what an allergic reaction, yeah, is. So I'm happy that, he got to the hospital, taken care of all of that. Mhm. So is
And
it, so is
every
it,
time Morgan goes to the hospital, it's peanut related. Every time. Every
mm,
time he goes, a few times his asthma, because but the two things they go together. And every time I'm in the hospital with Morgan, it's something to do with peanut.
mhm. Yes, in China here you have to be really careful because they use peanut oil and they put peanut in almost everything. So you could be eating salad
Yes.
and there's peanut in it. So yeah.
Or chicken, and there's
Oh,
peanut.
chicken. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Peanut in a lot of stuff. Yeah. Right. So you started out, you came here. So in Wuhan, you were not a principal then? Were you a principal in Wuhan?
No, so in Wuhan, I started in Wuhan in 2019 as a math and computer science teacher. I'm a secondary school teacher, and those
Mm-hmm.
are my teachables. So I can teach math, computer science, almost all of my career. That's what I've taught. And
Mm-hmm.
it was during COVID, actually, um, because everyone was locked out of the city, and different people were, some persons were home. So the pandemic kind of changed a lot of decision making for different people and different families. So when at the end of the year, different positions came up at my school, And one of the positions that came up because the young lady who was in that post, she decided she wouldn't return to China, was to be an academic advisor. And so I've always loved this. I remember falling in love with the job of an academic advisor back when I was teaching in the US. I loved it, and I love the fact that in the school, all the students at the secondary level, they had a lot of support as it relates to what am I going to do after high school? Those big questions, what am I going to do with my life? And so at the school I was at in the US, they didn't just leave the teens on their own to decide about these by themselves. They had a whole department that provided that support. And at my school here, they had the same thing. You have two academic advisors available to service those questions for the students. And so I was so excited about this role that it came up. There were lots of other leadership roles, but this was the one I really, really wanted. And so I applied during the pandemic. We did the interview online and I was successful. And that really started my leadership journey in the school organization that I'm in now, because I'm still with the same system. And so I went from being academic advisor, served in that role for just 1 year before I transitioned to a role that is, I think, in my school, educational coordinator, and that
Mm.
is like getting you ready for either to be vice principal or principalship. My school system has a good succession planning. So they create this role so you can get soft entry into leadership, getting your experience, kind of getting your feet wet and understanding the processes and the management of school. So I served as an educational coordinator in Wuhan for 2 years, and then I transitioned to this role as a school principal.
Okay. So you have also said you taught in the US. So did you then was your first teaching ground Jamaica, then the US, then China?
Yes, so it's Jamaica. Everything started in Jamaica, and then I left Jamaica. I taught in Jamaica for about 9 years. I
Mm-hmm.
was first at Vauxhall High School, where I spent, I think, about 3 years at the secondary level. And then I transitioned to Montego Bay Community College, where I lectured on that property for about 5 years before moving to the US. At that time, I served as a math teacher. In the US, I only taught mathematics. So I taught like math to grade nines, 10s, 11s, and 12s. I was in the high school.
Well, I would say you are, I mean, being a math teacher and a female, that's not something we see a lot of. So do you think that we need more female math teachers?
It just depends, right? Because I think with teaching, one of the things I think about a lot when I'm teaching, and I learned this in the US. I always say this, that in Jamaica gives you gives you a strong skill set to teach, but in Jamaica we really teach the curriculum, and we are performance-based curriculum. Our students have to take PEP and then CSEC and then CAPE. So we're all about A's and B's, ones and twos, like that. We're very performance driven. The US, on the other hand, is something that taught me how to teach every single student in my classroom, whether a boy, a girl, it doesn't matter. And so I think that as an educator, we do need like different gender in the classroom, definitely more females doing those kind of stereotypical male subjects so that they can be a light for the girls, and understanding that it's okay to be smart and pretty. You don't have to
Mm.
pick. You can be girly and smart, and even having men in the classroom too is very important for our boys, because they too need that kind. So I think the education system, what it needs is a balance. I think you may find that in some schools you have mostly females and very limited male teachers, or you may have a school with a lot of male teachers, not a lot. So balance, I think, is the most important thing.
Because I know a lot of girls tend to be afraid of math and science. They always think that it's too difficult or they can't understand or it's too hard for them. And the few who want to do it, they feel that, okay, they are in the minority. So yeah, we do need that there are women and teaching math, doing stuff with math, doing computer science, and it's okay. They can be pretty and they
Yes,
can yeah. So
yes.
that's good.
I,
Uh-huh.
I, I teach my boys because when I'm teaching here in China or teaching, I teach my boys how to fix the computer because I can, and I do that in tip and acrylic.
Mm.
Yes,
Yeah.
and in heels. Pretty and functional and smart, and that's okay. And
That's
I bring
okay.
my girls in because I taught coding to my
Mhm.
girls, especially here in China. And whenever I look in my classroom, I see a lot of boys. But when I see a girl, I look out for her and I encourage her and let her know that even if it takes you a little bit longer, it doesn't mean that you can't get this done. And
Mhm.
I keep a special eye on her and I push her and sometimes the boys, especially when we're fixing computers, there's a assignment that I designed for my students where they're building their dream computer. And so here they go through, we talk about what is it that you want your computer to do what you're going to use it for, and then we go shopping at the warehouse that has used computer parts. We go there, we have a budget, we shop for the parts that we need, then we go back to school, and our project is to put this computer together. And my girls, I tell them, you are getting in there and getting your hands dirty just like my boys. And there are no gender in this classroom. We are all just learners, and I like that kind of way, especially supporting them. And the same thing for my boys.
Yes.
Sometimes they may like a course that's maybe a feminine, or I don't know if that's correct to say. And
Yes.
I just let them know that what you are doing, anything you do, you can do anything as long as you do it excellently. It doesn't have any gender. You just get in there and get it
If a
done.
boy wants
You
to
do it well.
bake or to sew or to do something like this, it's fine. It's they're male designers, they're male, chefs, so it's okay to choose whichever way they want to go. So in
Yes.
education, then I can see that you have the strong foundation as a teacher, as a person in education leadership. So is this why you chose to write a book in about this area or connected to that? Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
So one for me, my passion, I always say I feel like I got to a space in my life where I'm able to pursue my job, which I absolutely love, and then I'm able to pursue my passion, which is like writing and helping young people get ready for life after secondary school and giving them those skills. So when I started writing, I'm only thinking about something academic. And what I thought about at the time was where a gap was in the education system. And I was just really thinking about Jamaica when I was putting my books together. I was just thinking about the fact that as a teen, I remember in secondary school that I didn't have a lot of conversations with any adults about what I'd do after secondary school. And then I thought about myself and the support I had because in my family I had persons who have gone to university. So it's normal to know, okay, I'm gonna go to university. I probably am not sure what I'm going to do, but that's just the path. But what about a child who doesn't have this? And the school is the place where we can help to fill that gap, in my opinion. And so I wanted to write a book that would provide that type of support for students. And then I said to myself, okay, I may not be able to get this book into classrooms because I'm in China. I'm not necessarily in Jamaica where I'm able to go to the different schools, talk to principals or school leaders to have it in their classrooms. So when I wrote the book, I thought that, okay, if it's on a bookshelf somewhere, I want a student, no matter which school you attend, no matter which country you're living in, when you pick it up, it provides you with that step by step guide that you need to decide about your career, to decide about the college that you'd like to attend, and to also spend some time to understand yourself, the things that you're good at. What are your skills? What are your competencies? What are your passions? Which one of those can I pursue or have a career from? How do I determine which path to take rather than what tends to happen a lot of times when you talk to teens about their what they want to do, they would say, I want to be an engineer, but they don't like math or they don't like physics. And I'm wondering how are we gonna get this done? And so what is happening is that they pick the career and they or the course or whatever, and then try to force fit themselves into it instead of selecting something that is in alignment with who they are. Because who you are is okay. Just find what you're good at and what aligns with you, and then it'll be fine.
Mm. Yes, I think it's a big thing because, as you said, I remember when I was in high school, I had a couple of things that I wanted to be. So I was like, okay, I like speaking and stuff like that. So I wanted to be a radio disc jockey, and I said I wanted to do that. Then I said I wanted to do law, but I wasn't sure. Then I was just juggling things. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do A levels, but I went and I spoke to the guidance counselor at the school. And she said, okay, maybe you could do these things. My parents hadn't been to university, so they didn't know anything about it, how to advise me. So I just went with what my guidance counselor and my pastor at church said, maybe this is good. But I applied for mass communication at that time. But then for mass communication, even though you had the grades, you also had to do another test when you went in to know how much you knew about the world and that. So I didn't get selected for mass comm, and I was like, okay, what else am I going to do? So then I went and did linguistics. And then people would say, what are you going to do with
Mm,
linguistics? What job are you going to have? What is this? And at first, I didn't know either. But I say to my nieces and nephew now that I remember Leah Kim Samaj at the time at university saying to us, there's nobody that is going to be in a career for 30 years anymore. So, in our
mm,
parents' generation and their grandparents, you stayed in one career you work in one office for 30 years. He was like, in one lifetime, people would have 7 jobs. So you can start
right.
anywhere and you can end up anywhere. It's just part of the journey. So I'm happy that you have a book like that because my nephew just graduated last year and he was so confused. One minute he's saying,
Yeah,
okay, I do this, and next minute, and I send him some of that resources that you shared before in one of your talks, and he was really happy for it. So I think it's really valuable for young people. Yeah.
for young
So
people. Yeah, they need that support. They do, and to be intentional about it. And that's one of the things I love about my education system here in China is that the students they have access to this support. It's built in to the school culture and built into the curriculum. It doesn't happen by chance. There are people who that is their job to help the young people be confused with them and
mhm.
go through the confusion together.
So do you have these talks with your son then? I know he is still young, but do you have these kind of talks with him about what he wants to be when he grows up?
No, I talk to my son, and I've been blessed with my son in terms of his person. He's such a calm boy and not very fussy as a child, which is so important for me because my job takes up a lot of my time, and he's just the most patient
Mhm.
child I know. And
Good,
one of the
good.
things that even my first book, I dedicated it to my son. It's for Morgan. But one of
Mm,
the things I've learned recently, and over this summer is something that I'm working on intentionally. So when I wrote the first workbook to help young people,
Mhm.
I this year I have a few students that I work with one on one who are boys. And then I started to think to myself, do they need something different? Do the resources look different for boys? So those are some questions that I have. And as I think about my son and how I counsel my son and prepare him for success, I realize that my approach is different with Morgan. And, so I'm actually really looking forward to spending some of my summertime to really research deeply about how do boys, is there a difference with men and women and how they select their careers? Is the process different? I've been speaking to some of my male colleagues and friends about their journey in their career. How has their pathway been different than myself, so that I can really create something for my teenage boys. In my school, my grade 11 class have three girls. There are 15 students, three girls, and the others are boys, and my teachers struggle with them. And usually would think, oh, they're being disruptive. They don't want to learn. But I also have questions. Is it that they learn differently? Do they need different types of activities? Um, my teachers normally complain that they're so loud, but then I realize because it's mostly boys, they are going to be a little bit louder than normal. So, definitely, as you ask about my son, it's something a question I have. I do not know the answer, but I'm hoping to see if the boys need something different, then I want to be able to provide that resource for them.
I have to agree with you in saying that I think for boys, they probably need something different. We have noticed it this year. I had a class with four girls and nine boys. And some days I was like, wow, they're so noisy. Wow, they're so, but I find that they do learn differently. They might be playing and I'm saying something and I'm like, why are you not
Yeah.
listening to me? But the next minute they've heard me, but it's just that they need to keep busy and they need to keep doing something. And they don't want me to tell them something two or three times. They're like, teacher, you told us already. We got it. So I realized that for
Yes,
them, something that, for the girls, at one point the girls even said to me, teacher, we they're too noisy and too rough. Can we sit by ourselves? So the four girls went and sat at one table and the boys to themselves. And what I found was that the girls are a little bit more patient and you can say something to them and they want to get that nurturing. The boys don't want it. They got it. They can go solve the problem, give them something to solve. So I've been changing my style of teaching and getting them to be problem solvers, to do stuff, to think through stuff. Because the minute I start to talk to them a lot, they feel like I'm nagging them. So yeah. So
right,
it's
definitely.
probably a different approach. Yeah. But I see that you have other books coming out, other books coming out. So how many books do you have to date?
All right, so right now I have two workbooks. I wrote a workbook for my first book for teens, and my thinking is just for high school students. And I'm fortunate to be teaching at a grades 1 through 12 schools. So I see all the schools. And so I wanted to create something for middle schoolers, a little bit different, where you're in middle school, you're not necessarily thinking about a career right now or a college, but you still want to be having those conversations. So I wrote this journal for them where it talks about just small reflecting on where you're wanting to go to study and include some fun facts about universities all across the world, because I find that students, when I ask my students, where do you want to go to study? I want to go to Harvard, I want to go to Stanford.
Mhm.
They can only name those popular, the top 100 or top 10, but there's so many amazing universities out there. And we want to be able to open our options and think about universities across the globe, not just a certain continent or a certain region, but there are amazing universities all over. And all you
Oh.
need is your passport and a dream and
Mhm.
a ticket, and you can be on
Yeah.
your way.
Uh, and now that you're saying that you might be going into the PYP program, that's another area because it's all about this lifelong learning and you're creating this and that is project based. So that's another area where it's a different way of getting kids to think and to learn. So yeah, so there's still more books, still a lot of books there to come out.
Yes, yes. Yes,
Yeah.
my big vision is to have a resource for every level, for every person or every young person. So from the child in kindergarten to the child in grade 12, my
Mm,
underpack, sorry, they want to be able to have something for them. And so that
mm,
is what I'm preparing, in terms of those resources. I have another book that I'm working on now that's not published. It's outside of the norm that I would normally write.
mm.
But as you mentioned, transitioning from one curriculum to the next to becoming PYP or IB school. My battery is going to die. Morgan, can
Okay.
you help to get the? Yeah, just hold on a sec.
Yeah,
No, no,
yeah. I
it's
can
on
I can
full.
I can pause it here. So let me just
Yeah.
pause.
So
So you were saying that you
yes,
wanted a book for every section of school from kindergarten right up. Hmm.
yes. So when I think about career and college readiness in schools, my big vision is to create something that a teacher can use at every level of the child's journey. So from coloring the letter A and matching it to an artist, something like that, just from K through 12. So that's something that I'm gonna continuously work on to make sure that for every grade, there is a unique resource that can support teachers and can support parents and even
Hmm.
support young people so that they are having this conversation as early as ever because we all know as adults how challenging adulting can be. I think about myself every day and
Hmm.
how challenging my job is. And one of the things that a quote that I use a lot, and I say my day is difficult, but I love it here. So because
Okay.
you spend so much time at work,
Hmm.
imagine not loving it here. And I
Yes,
say even
yes.
on the worst day, I
Mm,
absolutely love it here. And my job is challenging, but I'm having the time of my life, even when it's a difficult day. I'm
mm.
still having a good time.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear because I know that for the principal is like embodying the vision of the school. So if you're passionate about it and you have this what you want to share, then your teachers can feel it and your students can feel it. Because many times I think it's just a job for some people. They are there, they don't like it, and I know the job is hard. And for me, I say that too. Every day I want my conscience to be clear that I did my best and tomorrow is a new day. I start again. Things I get right. So if I don't want to be here, then I should go, but not stay there and be bitter and angry and all of those bring that negative energy into the workplace. So yeah. So yeah. So where can we find your books that you have? Can you tell us where we can find it?
All right, so the books I have, all of my books are available on Amazon. And in Jamaica, they're available at a stationery store on Red Hills Road, or I need to double check this one every time. I need to check, but
Okay.
available at Faithful Friends in Jamaica. So
Mhm.
if you're on Malines Road, you can always pop by to grab a copy of my book, or you can visit my website www.explorecareeracademy.com, and you can access all of my resources there.
Yes, that's great to hear. So where do you see yourself for the future? Are you going to spend a longer time in China teaching? Are you going to go to other places? Where do you see yourself?
So I initially planned to stay in China for 5 years.
Mm.
and enjoy living in China. I enjoy the comfort of living in China. And I love my job. I really do enjoy my job. I feel like my school is what I would describe to be like a turnaround school. Like there are lots of challenges on my campus. For example, I probably am one of few principals who will complain about behavioral challenges in China because my school is in China, but my students are not Chinese. And
Mhm.
so I have all of the what maybe you describe as the Western challenges right here in China. And so, what I like about this opportunity as a school leader is being able to build a school culture and a school environment where we understand that excellence is our norm, and we focus on academic excellence. We don't just say, okay, the students may need more time to learn, are we just going to leave them and let them fail in peace? I'm always on my teachers, like I check and on them, not in a bad way, but I'm having those conversations. I'm checking my students' progress. I'm looking to see, are they getting where we think they can get to? And if they still need more time, what is our plan to support them to getting them there? What are the resources that you need? I always do a survey, and this at the end of the year, I always give my teachers a one question survey. Very simple because I know teachers have a lot to do. So I'm not going to
Mhm.
create a task for you. And the question is very simple. What do you need? That's it. And I make it anonymous. And I let my teachers know that it can be one word to a sentence, to a paragraph. What do you need as an educator in the classroom? I believe if I know this, then I'm able to give my teachers what they need. If I don't feed my teachers, they're going to eat my students, and this is a problem. And
Yes.
so I love my job for that reason, where I will walk into a classroom and you're a teacher teaching, it's overwhelming. You seemingly can't get to do anything right. Parents are not happy, students are not happy, your principal is not happy. It gets hectic. And
Mhm.
one practice I have is when I'm walking in the hallway, if if I look into a classroom and I look at my teacher, sometimes I walk in and I would say, "Do you need a break?" And the teacher doesn't need to say a lot. They can just say yes. And they don't need to explain anything to me. I don't need any information. If you need a break, you can just go. And you can stay for as long as you need that break because I'm here and I will fill in. And I will cover for my teacher. Some teachers, they just need 5 minutes. Some teachers need maybe 30 minutes. It doesn't matter. And when my teacher leaves the classroom, if they need a break and they come back, they also know that they don't need to tell me anything. If you want to share with me, and usually they'll share with me. But if you also do not wish to go into what was happening, what you were feeling, what was whatever, you actually don't have to. And I do not require this. And we don't ever have to talk about it. I'm not gonna think that you are a terrible teacher and that you're not able to do your job. I have no thought. And it took my teachers a while to understand that I actually meant this. That I do mean it. Like they were thinking in the back of their mind, oh, she's just saying that because she's the principal, and then later she's gonna use it against me. I just forget that it happened and I skip along in the hallway. So, I really like my job for this reason that I'm able to provide or be a part of a child's educational journey or be, I don't know, just support, even in
Yes.
helping parents. I give a lot of parental lectures to my parents
That's good.
when they
But I
come
think
in
it's
and they're
it's building.
complaining.
Yeah, it's building that culture of
Yeah.
trust because I think that's what is missing in a lot of
Yes.
schools where teachers are afraid to say they are tired, they are because everybody's judging you. And as a teacher myself, I
Yes.
felt judged by people because, if one day you turn up late, nobody knows what you went through that morning, but they just judge you that you came late. Or if you didn't finish your work on time. I remember once we were doing this, we had to finish our reports and I wasn't finished. And this teacher was just hounding me. And I said, I was really, really sick for the last 2 days. And I really tried to stay up and move. It's not, I'm not being disrespectful to you by not, finishing. So I think, yeah, there are times when we need to be that kind of teacher, be that kind of person to be supportive to the teacher. So I'm happy you're building this culture. I'm
Yes.
amazed by it because a lot of the principals here, of the teachers here, I've not seen this culture here. And it's something that I like to see and I want to see in my school. And I want to see that understanding and that sharing that I'm a person. I always say, nobody talks about the teacher's well-being. It's just the parents and everybody else. But if we are not there to do the jobs, how can it be better? So I'm really happy to hear this kind
Yes.
of, yeah. So the
Yeah.
last
For me, my
aspect,
big thing. Oh, go
mm,
ahead. Go ahead.
no, no, continue. Yeah,
No, I
continue.
was saying that one of the things with my teachers, and it takes time to even build it because because for whatever reason, and I understand both sides. So for me, one of the things I try to let my teachers know, the only thing I don't need an explanation for everything. I need communication.
Mm,
So sometimes something that's simple. If you're running late, you don't need to explain to me why you're late. If you want, you can share. But what I need to know, because I have to manage the school and maintain the children's safety. And
mhm,
so all you need to do is to tell me that I'm gonna be late so that I can take care of what's happening here. I can run to fill in or get someone to fill in. And it
mhm,
took my team some time to understand that I actually mean this. I'm
yeah.
not gonna come finger wagging or
Mhm,
interrogating that or even logging. I make note, but I also understand.
yeah.
So my biggest thing, and I continue to share that, even a teacher would say to me, I didn't think you considered me when you made this decision. And then I would pause and I would even apologize and I would sometimes explain, this was my thinking. And firstly, I do not want you to feel I've discarded your feelings. That I don't do that as a person. It's not my way. But sometimes I have to make a quick decision. And you know what I said to my teachers? I have this program that we do wow, which is watching others work. So
Mhm,
normally I'm not on the list of persons to wow. And I said to my teachers, you know what, next year you will come to wow me. So you will spend an hour in my office to
mhm,
understand what's happening in the principal's office. That
mhm,
way, because sometimes they'll think, oh, the principal is just sitting nice and cozily in the office.
mhm,
But sometimes I'm running to the hospital or I'm running to a meeting or a parent just comes by and the parent is finger wagging at my teacher. And usually I shield my teachers from those um, interaction if you're here to shout, and I will let my teachers know if there's a parent conference happening and the parent is shouting and you're uncomfortable, like we all have an exit plan for all my teachers. And I say, all you need to give me is the exit signal and I will dismiss you and I'll take it from there. You don't need to be thinking about this. If you're uncomfortable, then because I don't want you to feel unsupported. So for me, the big thing is communication. Just let me
yeah.
know what you need. I can be there.
Yes, and I think I can see you building that culture. So it's building it little by little until everyone becomes the stakeholders accept it and develop the community. So that's really something that's beautiful. And I think it's something that for me as an educator, I want to learn and I want to have that transparency with my students and everyone so that, everybody can feel that they are part of it. No one is discarded for whatever reason. We are all together
Yeah.
working together. Yeah. So what I was going to say before is, so how are you? How do you plan to, rest, rejuvenate, relax over this summer? Yes, for this break after
Yes,
your
so
hard year.
yeah, it's been a challenging year. I feel like, you know how they say babies have terrible twos? I
Yeah.
think terrible twos happen in the principal's office.
Yeah.
It's been a challenging year, but an interesting year. I think with transitioning from curriculum to a new curriculum, it's something that happened in September. And as the site principal, you're just leading the charge and getting your team ready to roll. And so for me, this summer, that's one of the reasons I'm not looking to travel far. I think I hope by next week I don't feel the travel bug and I'm like, okay, I need to travel somewhere. I really just
Mhm.
want to rest and kind of spend a lot of time with my son because this year we haven't hung out a lot together. He and I, we usually hang out and kind of do things together, play tennis, do puzzles, play chess, take a walk. Like we spend a lot of time together, my son and I. But this year, we didn't spend a lot of time together. When I look at our puzzle box, we didn't do a lot of puzzles. We don't have any souvenirs. I look at usually we would paint something together. Morgan
Mhm.
is saying, Mommy, we didn't do any of that. We would
Yeah.
go shopping together,
Right.
would travel together.
Mhm.
Mommy, what happened? We missed everything this year.
Yeah,
So we're
been
trying to
here.
squeeze everything into the summer and see if we can spend some good time together. Because I
Mhm.
feel like with working, I really spent a lot of time working this year. And I feel
Mhm.
like I didn't spend a lot of time with Morgan at all. So
Yes.
he has his list,
Yeah,
and
yes.
I'm ready to roll, which starts with Hangzhou
Yeah,
tomorrow.
that's good. So I hope you have a good time. I know it's hot, but hope you still have a good time. I know there are lots of places you can go into and enjoy the building inside. So on this show, we have this thing that we call the diamond drop. And you've done many diamond drops before, but just one thing that you want listeners to think about and to remember from you, Sophia Morgan, as an author, as an educator, what's one thing you want us to remember?
I think one thing I want persons to remember is that be purposeful about building the life that you want. Like, and you actually need no one's permission to do so. You just permit yourself and then
Mhm.
you just make a list of the things that you desire
Mhm.
and pursue them with everything, and then some will not work out. Just forgive yourself. Like I think about myself and my own journey, and one thing I've learned to do is how to forgive Sophia, how to forgive me when I make a mistake, when I shout when I shouldn't have, when I wasn't the best mom, when I wasn't the best principal or best friend that I needed to be. I forgave myself and I continued along my journey of designing the life that I want. And I enjoy the life while I'm building it. So I'm not just saying, okay, I'm building it now to enjoy it later. No, 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 no. I tend to stop and celebrate myself loudly and
Mhm.
have fun along the way. So that's the diamond that I want to give. Forgive yourself, build a life that you desire, and just um, celebrate life.
Mhm. And I love that sentence that you said, nobody needs to give you permission to do it. Because
Yes.
sometimes you're sitting there thinking, oh, yesterday one lady was saying, oh, so and so they are, transitioning, they're doing all of that. And she said, but I don't have a goal. And then somebody said, I said, what do you want? And she said, I want to live a simple life and be happy. I said, then go do that. Not everybody wants to go off and build this career or travel here. You want a simple life where you enjoy your life with your family. That's your goal. So you can create that. So nobody needs to give us
Yes.
permission for what we really want.
Permission.
The question is
What
what you
just Yeah,
Yes.
just be, just permit yourself. You check with yourself, self, are we okay with this? Self
Mhm.
says yes, then we're off.
I have enjoyed talking to you so much, Sophia, and I'm sure we can talk a lot more. And I
Yes.
could feel your and hear your philosophy about education and being an educator coming out and where your source, your purpose, all of that is coming from. So I've enjoyed it, and I know that the listeners out there are going to enjoy it too. So before we close, is there anything else you want to share? And then we will have our closing. Mhm.
Yes, I want to share something, which is a
Yeah.
book like I'm
Yes.
writing and
Mhm.
publishing now. And it's different than every other book. And I think, I don't know if I'd write another book like this one because I wrote this book for myself. So when I in lead, like all of the literature I write is about college and career preparedness. Like I love that, and I do not intend to deviate for long from that. But when I was
Mhm.
transitioning my school from a BC school to IB, I thought about myself as a principal and managing my school. And I was saying, I wish I had, like, I take a lot of notes. And I said, I wish I had a journal that kind of combined what my morning looked like or my day looked like. And so usually I tend to pray about what I'm about to do or just stay prayerful. Like
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, sometimes I don't have a lot to say in my prayer. It can be very simple, like, okay, guide me.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I say
Mhm.
that a lot, especially when I'm walking in my school because I know I have to interact with all of my students and my teachers and everyone on property. So I say that very often because I
Mhm.
want to make sure that I'm guided and I'm not going
Mhm.
to just make a decision of my own free will. I feel like I'm going to make a mistake.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
I feel like I need guidance. I always say that. And so for that reason, I wrote this journal called Rooted to Lead. And it's a journal for school leaders that is built on biblical principles. And I tried to think about the different components of school, like getting your team in alignment, guiding them through orientation, professional development, um, praying for your students, praying for your building, praying for your teachers, that kind of thing. So it's like a
Mhm.
prayerful journal for an educator. It's like a manual, for lack of a better word, where it's
Yes.
with you. You journal through the day, kind of set your day, reflect on the day, think about how you want to build your school, because having a good school culture or a culture where people feel supported, it's not something you're going to inherit as a school leader. It's something you have to build from the ground up. And if you're fortunate and someone has done the legwork for you, you also need to maintain it through your daily practice, and it doesn't happen accidentally. You have to
Mhm.
be intentional about it to say, you know what, this is what I want my school to feel like. And this
Mhm.
is how I want my students to feel when they're here, how I want my teachers to feel. And then you have to do the work to get it there. And
Yeah.
so I wrote that journal. It's coming out in, I think, August 1st is the publication date. I should be doing some promo or some work to get
Yes.
ready.
Yeah, you can. What you should do is have the cover ready and be, sharing it around. You put it on your Facebook,
And and
Instagram,
and,
everywhere.
and my
Yeah.
publisher has done
Mhm.
an amazing job. She sent me the cover since,
Yeah.
but I will
Yeah.
be doing my promo and sharing. I really wanted to write this journal and,
Mhm.
and create a space
Mhm.
for school leaders, because it's very lonely to be a
Mhm.
school leader. You so much things that happen in your office is confidential, and the last thing you need is to say something that you shouldn't have and then create
Mhm.
a gossipy school.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
uh, yeah, so you need a space where you can share and get even advice from other school leaders, even in our little chit chat where I'm telling you about the things that I feel maybe overwhelmed by. And they're saying, well, it's pretty common. Imagine if I had that conversation with you in February. I would have been so much easier for me to navigate knowing that, okay, this is not unique to my
Yeah.
teachers, it's not unique to my school, it's just a normal thing. Now, how do we navigate and come out
Mhm.
on the other side, you know? So that's why I wrote this book, and I want to create a space for school leaders so we can learn from each other, support each other, and then build the schools that we would want to attend as kids
Mhm.
all over the world.
That's, yeah, I'm happy it's coming out. I mean, there is a space for a book like that. Last year, at the end of the year, I felt pretty burnt out and I felt like I didn't, I wanted something. And there's this lady in America, she actually had something called, it was Renew, Revive, something like that. And she also wrote a book which was kind of similar. And she had so many people through the summer. She did a whole seminar and just online, and different teachers came and shared their learning, shared their stories, and it was really good. So I think that space, we need a book like that because many leaders want something like that, and many leaders want to create the new culture. And I'm happy that you're creating it based on your faith as well. That is undergirding what, who you are. This is how you're going to write it. This is what you're putting out. And I'm telling you, there's a space for it. Education needs this kind of thinking. It's not just a
Yeah.
business. It's not just, yeah. And we need to put our hearts in it in a different way. So thank you for this kind of book. And I hope we can get our hands on it soon. So thank you so much, Sophia. It's been
No.
wonderful. It's been beautiful. And as this is a water cooler show, what is your drink of choice, Madam Principal, when you're sitting in the office? What's your drink of choice?
Well, when I'm in the office, my drink of choice is coffee. I drink a lot
Okay.
of coffee, and I'm so blessed because like my teachers, they know I drink a lot of coffee. And
Mm,
some days I have so much coffee, like
mm,
maybe I don't know, everyone thought of me that day, and they'll be like, "Oh, Sophia, I brought coffee for you." And
mm.
sometimes I have a teacher who is more innovative. They're like, "Okay, I'm giving you tea today, so brought tea for you today," or something like that. So my in my office, my drink of choice, I will have tea or coffee, sometimes water. I'm
Mm.
really working on taking in more water, but
More
tea and
water.
coffee drink.
Okay. Okay. Well, in this hot summer, I have been having yang mei, and I'm sure you have yang mei in your region where it's
Yes.
this fruit, and yeah, I boil it and make it into juice just to keep cool. So if you can
Oh,
try some yang mei, yeah, the yang mei juice is what you need to cool down at this time. Thank you so much, Sophia. I enjoyed talking to you. I hope you have a restful, relaxing break for your holiday and spend some time with your son and then be renewed, revived to go back and be the amazing principal that you are. So thank you so much for joining us.
thank you, no
Yeah.
problem. Thanks for
Mhm.
having me.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay, so I will.